Started playing Dota after taking a break for 2 or 3 years. Play 1 to 2 games a night with friends. They asked me to learn mid, even though he's the lowest of the MMRs. Haven't really had that much games yet. As of now, my hero pool is Queen of Pain, Ember, Lina, and Storm. Are Ember, QoP, and Storm too similar? Trying to decide if I should replace one with an objective taker. Yeah, I would say you should have at least one tanky guy and one objective taker. I would agree with that. Leshrack's fine. Tiny Kunkka are fine. Would love to know if you have recommendations on any other hero that would be beneficial. I think the objective taker and the tanky guys is important. That's really important to me. So this is a 2.8k Queen of Pain replay. I think I was a bit too passive during the lane and wasn't sure if I should have skilled Shadow Strike even though Legion Commander could dispel it. No, you really don't against her. Facing her mid, okay. I also don't know how to find opponent vision mid and wasn't able to use my sentry my support gave me. Would definitely love advice on how I can improve my laning phase. However, my biggest concern is that I usually don't know when to farm. This is a long typo. When to farm and be greedy or when to actively try and help. Feels as if I have lackluster impact throughout and was just carried by my team even though I was mid. I rewatched the game and it seemed like I was a bit too passive in team fights as well. Would love your harshest criticisms, basically. And a checklist of things to prioritize or keep in mind. That's what I always do, buddy, but you can ask for it. I was thinking to go for Yules for LC. In terms of items, okay, he went Orchid, which he thought ended up being a mistake. I wanted to go Lincoln's or E-Blade. Okay. Sorry for the lengthy ride-up smile. No problem, dude. Nobody had to sit around extra time and listen to that. Crappa.
Banana slam jam.
In the mid lane, this applies in every lane, but a lot in the mid lane. It comes down to whether or not you think you can shut down the opponent. You always want to play as aggressively as you possibly can, but is that aggression going to be to make space for yourself to farm, such that they are scared of... Like, if you are aggressive on them, it makes them spend regen, and it makes it so they're less able to stop you from farming, so thus accelerating your game? Or is that aggression about shutting them down? So there's like 2 reasons to be aggressive, right? So in your case, since Legion Commander can remove your Q, you're just playing for your own game. And anytime you're right-clicking the opponent, anytime you're using Scream, you're just doing it to accelerate your game and maybe harass the opponent a bit. So I would have leveled Scream, which you did. Good. And obviously you want to attack at the same time so that you get the attack and the Scream damage simultaneous. Unfortunate, but that's life. Like that. Seems like you just messed up the first time. Okay. So obviously you can work on CSing, but that's not something I'm going to worry about. Yeah, you're doing a good job of right-clicking him. I don't think you should level screen or blink the way you did, because if he like used his Q on you after having his passive activated, you could then like dagger him and get a nice value dagger in there. It's not necessarily I'm telling you to level dagger, I'm saying just hold the skill point because it might pay off. You definitely should not be missing a single range creep, so your positioning in lane and the way you play aggro, you need to think about him bullying you away and stuff in a way that gets you zoned away from the range creep. Very important there. You've given up a couple of them, especially when you have level 2 Scream. That's really bad. You're simply losing the lane because of that. The range creep denies are what's killing you. Otherwise, the lane's pretty much even, because when you get these CS, it's pretty much even, right? Like, you're down by 6 CS, but you've missed 4 or 5 under tower, and you had the 2 range creeps, so.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I think no talisman's fine here. You're not really using... The dagger here is a mistake. This is an example where you're utilizing mana to trade with him, and he's not going to use his mana for anything else anyways, really. So I want you to be using pretty much all of your mana early on Screams, right? I would have probably considered Null Talisman before the bottle. But that is coming into play with the fact that you're just missing 5 extra CS than you should have. Whenever I play mid on unfamiliar heroes, I notice my timings are just off because of that. Stop daggering this guy. Yeah, this is definitely just wrong. Don't make him use his W. Like, that's just a waste of your mana. It's a lot of mana for you.
Friends, let us skirmish.
Usually your Q also results not only in the damage it does, but you're also right-click him more. So, it's like you're getting a lot more damage than it says on the ability, and if you use your Q, it's like it doesn't... I know it obviously doesn't do anything if he removes it, but your Q's worth so much damage against heroes that can't remove it, and you're just keep using the mana. It's just not correct. So you get a haste. Okay. So that's a fine, very quick gank. That's absolutely fine. One of Nico Baby's rules that I saw in his gamers class course was that he said never leave your lane when the catapult's alive. So if you're going to leave your lane and the catapult is alive, whatever lane you're in this case mid, do not leave for long. So I'm only okay with that gank because it was really fast, right? Like you got kills and you went back mid before the catapult wave even pushed into your tower. Maxing out Scream is a must here. No reason to put a second point in Dagger. I would argue Orchid first if you're going to go it, not even Treads. Because you're not actually manning up on the Legion at any given point. You both are just trading farm. So I'd want the Oblivion Staff for the mana regen instead of like Tread swapping. I think this gank is forced. You're ganking to a Warlock Underlord lane. Let me repeat that. You are ganking to a Warlock Underlord lane. A lot of ganking in general, but especially from the mid lane, comes from how much the heroes you gank for can help you gank. So earlier it worked because you had a haste, and you were able to just run in, ult, blink, scream, and just walk away. In this case, it's just not going to work. Because they just walk away. Because you don't have haste, and you have two heroes without a stun. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So, yes, just big deal that you don't force shit like this. If your honest intention is to take this tower, I don't mind it. I'll tell you right now. I will take back what I said. If your honest intention was to walk at this lane and take the tower, I can get down for this. I personally would have liked you pushing one extra wave mid and then doing this. But, you know what? I don't hate the play. I don't hate it at all. I'm not even critiquing it. Another form of ganking is just walking into areas the opponent can't do anything about. Which, in this case, is what you did. Okay, so you got Bounty. Your player perspective doesn't move around the map very much. You're pretty much always centered on your hero, which I don't like. I don't know. I feel like when I watch these games, it's a pretty common story in a lot of the replays I watch. I just don't know what's going on in the game. You know? I see 6-1. I know you've taken top tower, but I have no idea what items anyone has. I basically got flamed by players like Crit and S4 when they watched my stream, because they just said I didn't check the map a lot. And this was when I was like 6, 7K, right? And it's just like, now that I do it a lot, and I'm watching other people, it just feels like I don't know what's going on in the game. So if I'm watching and I don't know what's going on in the game, I have to assume you don't have full info about what's going on in the game either. So obviously a bit of an extension there, but we're not going to worry too much about it. We're more so going to focus on what you do next now that you've died. Okay. So this is when you start thinking about the mid-game, right? Every mid-game you have to start thinking, you need to pay attention on any bracket you guys are fucking playing. You have to pay attention when you're watching pro games, when you're in your own games. Heroes naturally fall into place. In regards to people naturally go to places their hero is inclined to be good at. Heroes like Jug that are survivable tend to stay in their own safe lane longer. Underlord is either a tower defender or a tower pressurer, right? So he's either going to sit top, mid, or bottom, nuking out the wave. So if he's not sitting top, that means nobody on your team is nuking out the wave. Queen of Pain is not a tower defender. Tower defenders are heroes that don't have to put themselves in danger to clear out the wave. Queen of Pain has to be on top of a creep wave to clear it. So she's not a good tower defender. She's a perfectly fine lane pusher, but not a good tower defender. You have an Underlord sitting mid. You should be top for like 10 minutes in a row here, farming super efficiently, playing like a 1 position in this area on the map. That's what you should have done this game. In most Queen of Pain games, you'll end up in some similar situation to that, because that is how Queen of Pain likes to play, because she isn't a tower defender, but she is a wave clearer. So you're just sitting here being incredibly inefficient, and the farming NA mentality inside of me, it burns. It burns to take that top tier 1 and just see this. It burns! Ugh, my eyes! Ugh. You know, obviously we're being melodramatic, but this burns! Burns! If your carry's doing it, you're welcome to take over his job if you would so choose. Often on Queen of Pain, unless I feel incredibly invincible, I don't play my own safe lane. I like to either play top like I talked about, or I play jungle behind the guy playing top. So pretty much I'm almost always playing top. So what I was saying about every hero is please pay attention to where heroes are playing. Underlord will almost always play in the same way. Jug will almost always play in the same way. Heroes have options, okay? I want you to know heroes do have options, but they always keep within those options. There's very few exceptions, very few. Obviously, even bad players, they've naturally learned what their hero likes to do without thinking about it, okay? If you only play like 1 or 2 heroes, you naturally learn how to play that hero in the right places on the map. So if you're trying to learn the overall game of Dota 2, it's very important in your games that you start paying attention not only to the heroes you're playing, but the heroes in your game. That top lane not getting pushed, my eyes are bleeding. My eyes are fucking bleeding. When you are winning and you have taken top tier 1, if possible, which means they have to fucking stop you or be strong enough to stop you, this lane is into this tier 2 100% of the fucking game. Okay, guys? If you are winning and they can't kill you or they can't stop you, and if you're not sure, find out by doing it and see if they stop you. This lane is into their tower. If somebody else is doing it, okay. If somebody else is doing it, that's fine. But I need you to know that every single fucking game, that lane gets pushed into the tier 2, if possible. So usually when you're winning, it is possible. Especially when you're heroes that are highly mobile and survivable. I understand that not everyone sees all of my content. I understand. And I want this to be a PSA. Seven hours into the stream. Remind me this, guys. This is a PSA. If you are winning, it is reversed on Dire. If you are winning, there are there are exceptions to this rule for sure. But you'll learn the exceptions over time. You'll learn the exceptions. And so I want anyone 5K or below to understand, if you are winning the game, take the enemy safe lane tower and their safe lane gets pushed into their tier 2 before you do anything. Before you do anything in the fucking game. Anything. And if you think your hero is not strong enough to push it, fine. Push it as far as you think you can and then do something. But the point being is, I don't want to see another replay of somebody who's seen this PSA where that lane is not pushed into the fucking tier 2. That is how important this is. That is how important it is. It's efficiency. It's information. You're just sitting mid, jacking off with your teammates, and you have a 17-minute Orchid with a good lane. Okay, so we've taken an engagement at their tier 2. This is where a lot of natural engagements are going to happen based on what I've talked about. Overstayed our welcome just a bit. Kind of just an awkward fight. Your Jug got bursted full to 0 without Omni Slashing. These are the type of fights where if we don't get our spells off, I'd rather think about, You know, could we have played that fight better? If so, was the fight the wrong place, or was it just a misexecution? I would say you should always default to the top half of the map, so when you walked out of base, I would have walked top and then been ready to TP elsewhere. Same thing as before. Unfortunate ulti there. By walking bottom, you're saying you want to fight bottom, which is not the case. Because you're never gonna walk bottom and then TP top, but it's very normal, or very, like, in high level games, it feels very natural. It'll even feel natural in your games to walk top and TP bottom. It's usually not very natural to walk to your own safe lane and then TP top for a fight. That's usually not how it goes. Okay, so you made a good move top. Some kills. Okay, this is very quick rotations. Your team's all here. Are you going to push the tower? That's the question you're asking yourself right now. Are you pushing this tier 1 tower? Because if you are, you all stay here and group up to push. If not, you split up and push lanes. So it looks like you're going to push. All good and dandy with me if that's what you guys so choose. Got the tower. We're going to back off. Use forced 3 heroes here. Blink your way towards mid. What you're doing, you're farming your way towards mid. This is all good. I know we're on fast forward here, but I honestly have seen this rinse and repeat over and over again in a lot of games that I've played. Okay, this is all normal. I'd say these rotations are all good. You force people bottom, you have a Night Stalker ult, you're almost to your BKB, so you're playing passively. I haven't felt like you're playing too passively in team fights. Okay, your Shadow Shaman got dove. Okay. Bit awkward now. You have your BKB timing. You definitely needed a BKB. At this point, I would go an armor item. You said you go Shivas, which is fine. I think your items are perfectly reasonable. You're just supposed to have more. Okay, this is actually really good. You're playing the dead lane. You didn't know where they were. You blinked into the trees, and now you're blinking back when you see them mid. This is actually good. This is really good. This means you're paying attention. Most 2K players don't do this shit. This is good. This is actually very good. Very good. I like it. Your team smokes out of base. This is fantastic. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Force someone to come bottom and look for an opportunity. Doesn't work, so be it. You go again, fine with me. It's a bit awkward at this stage. You guys have very little disable against very fast heroes. Legion's fast, Night Stalker's fast. Very patient fights are your guys' way to victory here. I don't think you're playing too scared at all. I think it's super awkward for you guys to commit to fights here. Win the duel, Pog. Okay. I like the way you're playing these fights. I'm not even lying to you. I think your play past the 20-minute mark has been very good. I'm not even... This isn't to make you feel better, buddy. But that mid-game portion was atrocious. That 17-minute Orchid could have easily been like 12. I would say if you skipped treads, it could have been 11. It would have been a super fucking fast Orchid. And super early Orchids are even more potent, right? And then I would have even considered Boots of Travel at that point. Like Orchid, BKB, Boots of Travel later on in the game. I don't think you really need treads. Not very often in this game are you going to be standing your ground and right-clicking people. I think you realize that at some point, if Night Stalker's on top of you, if Lone Druid's on top of you, if Legion Commander's on top of you, often you're not going to be standing your ground and right-clicking. On QoP and most other heroes specifically that have the choice of whether or not to go treads, I think that way. Am I going to be standing my ground and right-clicking a lot? Okay, we get out. A little bit awkward now. Your jug goes down. Okay. This is all kind of just team fighting stuff, so I'm not overly concerned about your... Like, nothing you're doing stands out to me. I think Shiva's is a good item. I do still hold the sentiment that I have no fucking clue what anybody has in this game. I haven't seen a single other player's items or mana or health or anything or levels. I haven't seen a scoreboard check. I haven't seen anything. I know that Legion Commander has a BKB and an armlet because she activated them. That's all I know. I also know that Clockwork has a blade mount. I also know your Underlord has Greaves now. This is a habit of checking items and shit around the map that I didn't get used to until I was like 7.5, 8K. And I need to tell you guys, I don't repeat my mistake. It's not a good thing that I waited that long. I regret waiting that long. Unfortunate they sniped the Roche, but I honestly think you guys are way stronger than them in fights. Their cores don't team fight at all. I like this. I think your split pushing in the like around the 25-minute mark had a massive impact on your team winning this game. I actually think you've played quite well later on in the game. Way better than I would expect a 2K player to play. 2800, but you know, same. Lincoln's means that you're going to be playing like. So the thing I like about Lincoln's here is it actually allows you to tank spells and you might even survive a duel. But if you go Lincoln's, then you're more like, I hope I never get caught. But you're against so many heroes that get up in your face that I would prefer you to play like, they're going to eventually get up in my face. How about I survive the first 5 seconds of it and then play the fight? Lincoln's is more like, I can't allow the single ability they have or the ways they have of initiating to get on top of me. I think since you're capable of surviving their initiation, if you have Shiva's BKB, that's like the question to ask yourself though, right? Like maybe you don't know exactly if that was correct, but if you think that's the case, that's when you would want to buy the Shivas. I would keep going top, honestly. Actually, okay, you don't have TP. Interesting. I would have got one more wave since your jug was nearby. A lot more coordination in this game than I would expect. Is it a 5 party queue or some shit? That is. Yeah, makes sense. You said you play with friends, but I wasn't aware that was party queue. Like 5-man party queue.
Like this, rebalance the fight.
So you can talk with your friends about this. Top lane, enemy safe lane gets pushed when you're winning every single fucking game. One of you does it. You guys can talk together, learn together as a unit. Talking about who you think's supposed to do it. Know that mid lane needs defending, top lane needs pushing, and you need to consider whether or not bottom lane is defended when you're winning games. That applies every single fucking game. You guys can talk about who you think's supposed to do it. You can talk about your own role in the middle of the game, saying like, hey, I'm going to defend bottom, guys. I'm ready to TP mid. You know, understanding that these things apply in almost every single game that you're winning. You guys are stuck in base, so I guess at this point you guys managed to win an epic fight. And I think it's really hard for you to hard commit at any given point. And if you do, you're likely going to die, and the only reason you would hard commit is such that there's so much attention forced upon you that your teammates can clean up. I am going to wrap up the replay there. I usually don't have much to say about games past this point in the game. I genuinely like the way you played the mid to late game. The harps I'm going to give is that mid-game timing. You would just have way more farm if you had to understand a basic idea of what lanes mean what and where you're supposed to play as heroes like Queen of Pain. Ask yourself that every game. Ember's very similar. Lena's very similar. Lena jungles more, though. Lesh is like a mixture of QoP and Lena in that regard, in the way they play the map. And yeah, checking items, if I didn't already mention that again in this recap. So those are the big things for me, but overall, pretty well played later on. I'm impressed for a 2K. You're definitely applying yourself a lot. Your mid to late game play was far better than your MMR. I think that mid game is just crushing you. Like that, not even mid game, it's like 10 to 15 minute window is just crushing you. Your efficiency is terrible. And it really takes just a slight tweak in mindset and you'll fix it. So Just remember, don't push mid unless top lane's pushed. I mean, that's just even like if you've taken top tier 1, don't push it until you've pushed top. Like it's a rule of thumb that applies in so many games that eventually you'll start realizing certain games it doesn't. But until then, let's worry about that later.